Folks, welcome back. My name is Rudy. You're watching Alpha Investments, where we report on the things that do well, the things that go up, the news, and the things that tank and collapse and pound us. Today, we're going to have a discussion on modern new Magic the Gathering regarding Modern Horizons 3. Hasbro, how high and how much can Wizards just keep pushing prices up and endlessly reprinting until they run out of things to reprint? Or simply put, everybody, is just everything printed to oblivion, and like people always ask me all the time, I'd say probably since 2020, I don't know, probably since 2017. Are we in the junk wax era? Are we in the everything's overprinted? Nothing will hold value long term. The artificial scarcity concept of underprinting on purpose or bottlenecking to create the more desire and to trick us into desiring and wanting the new products more than we really do because they are limited. We can touch on Pokemon, but you guys know I have a very love-hate relationship with Pokemon. Obviously Pokemon has treated me incredibly well in my lifetime here. In the last 10, 15 years dealing in Pokemon, obviously I'm making a tremendous amount of money in the sealed Pokemon world. And it's just something that I guess people always see. Here's the thing. Like on Wall Street, this is a good way to segue into this video. If you think about everything, it's like looking at the hot stock on Wall Street. I'm not going to name drop the hot stock on Wall Street, but you know what the hottest AI stock is and 3 trillion market cap. I'm not going to go into that. But everybody always asks, is it too late to jump in? Was the smart money already made? Did the smart money already make all its move? Did the smart money already pump and dump it? And because it's always very scary when you see something doing well. Let's look at Modern Horizons 3. And, the last 2 months, I've been, I made all these videos saying that Modern Horizons 3 collector boxes under $400 is a screaming opportunity. And every one of those videos I made in the last 2 months was met with a lot of, go back on this channel the last 2 months where I talked about anything with Modern Horizons 3, and you'll see pretty much the top comments or most of the comment section being the holy cow, this guy's trying to blah, 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 and this is overpriced garbage. And the comments and the online discussion doesn't really want to talk about kind of the details of it. Why would Rudy say that? Is it really just so he can try to pump everybody? Is there really, what is he seeing that makes him say that? And that's kind of the approach I have with standard $89 draft Magic. And of course, yes, you guys, if you're a patron, you already know. But to remember that, folks, this channel is sponsored by myself and viewers like you all, and the patrons that support this channel. That's it. I don't take outside sponsors or anything. And yes, over the next 60 days, we should be able to button this up that moving forward, we are going to be able to start doing the play boxes because obviously draft boxes are going, extinct. And, right now, people are just buying the living hell out of draft boxes from me. And I'm hoping that we can set something up with the play boxes, which is looking good, starting probably in the next 60 days. So moving forward, we'll be carrying permanently the Magic the Gathering play boxes that you can get between, 1 and 6 boxes. And I'm trying to get some sort of price between like 110 and 119 shipped for every play box, just moving forward, period. That's the original idea. I don't know if that's going to be possible. We're getting pretty close. It may be somewhere in the middle. But overall, the fact that we're seeing like Thunder Junction play boxes holding at like 140 on TCG Player, plus tax, like 150 shipped. People are playing every day. People are paying that. 150 shipped for a play box of OJT. Blows my mind. Like that to me, I'm like, guys, ladies and gentlemen, that's a little pricey, even to rip off Rudy standard. Ooh, rip off Rudy. That's a good meme. R squared. That, like, even to that standards, 150 a box is, I think you're pushing it. It's kind of high, everybody. And yeah, I apologize. We had construction outside, so you're going to hear some noise and saws and construction, cutting and tile work outside. So sorry about that. Anyways, it just scares everybody because the human brain wants to warn you that it's impossible to endlessly just print expensive boxes and not have side effects, right? Eventually you have to pay the piper. Eventually something collapses. Eventually something falls apart. Eventually it's just not possible to kind of maintain that. That's really all there is to it. And, everybody, is questioning, how far along are we on this road of the end is near? And it's a tough time. It's a confusing, difficult economy in the United States. The working class and 90+% of the people in the United States, the cost of inflation and the economic conditions between government policy, the actual just corporations raising prices, raw materials, the moving forces every direction. It's a very difficult thing if you are a normal individual who has a set pay or a set salary, when, no way to BS it, like we did in the whiteboard video. Just because Rudy only raised his boxes from 79 to 89 for draft, the average item has doubled or tripled in price in the last 10 years. The taco index or the waffle fry index from 10 years ago to today is going to be at least double or triple the price depending on what exact item you want to use as a metric. And everybody just wants to know. Look what happened with Magic 30. It's the first time I'm going to bring it up in a long time. Magic 30. We haven't talked about the Magic 30 $1,100 or $1,080 shipped boxes they did a long time ago. Those almost $1,100 boxes, it's been what, a year and a half? How long is it? 2 years? How long has it been since Magic 30? Jeez, really? How long has it been? Let's just say a year, rounded it. They're stable. They haven't tanked. I'll be honest with you all, I kind of thought they would spike higher because there'd be some people try to buy out the Magic 30 $1,100 boxes on TCG Player. But at the same time, there's just, again, the problem with Magic 30 was there was just no real demand or market for it. Anyone who's like, Rudy, I'm really thinking about buying a Magic 30 box. I was like, hey, if you want to go for it and knock yourself out, it's just not for me. I tried to be as loud and vocal as I could online with music videos and memes and jokes and 80s stuff. And we got a lot of traction, but at the same time, who is that product for? If you're going to spend $1,100 on 4 little packs of reprint collector's editions, $1,100. Last time I checked, you could buy a collector's edition, Mox anything, CE or ICE, for under $1,100. I'm pretty sure a collector's edition Mox Pearl or Emerald is still under $1,100. Anyways. But looking back at everything, Magic 30 did teach us that there is a limit, and the public will reject certain things, which was an important moment in time. But it also brings us back to this normal day-to-day thing that you all watching this channel think. And that is, when is all the modern crap going to go to zero? When is the junk wax era going to collapse? When is the modern overprinting to oblivion? All these little hot terms, and when are the price scalpers, and when are all these things eventually just going to topple over? When's it going to be too much? And, I don't have a clear answer to that. Obviously, Rudy's opinion is applying that everything today is overprinted garbage junk and going to zero or whatever. Obviously, Rudy doesn't agree with that because Rudy has deployed in stupid amounts of money, as I've showed you all, and revealed my heavy bags, or whatever meme you want to use. I continue to have very large exposure to these things. So, well, you all may buy some boxes from me. I continue to make sure that I have massive exposure to these things, because I don't really think anything has changed. And that's kind of my attitude towards this, And we're going to pause Magic right there. Let's jump to Pokemon. I think going from Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet, I've never seen a line in the sand where so many people felt the glory days of Pokemon were over, and Scarlet and Violet was officially the demise of Pokemon. It was the first time, maybe since 2017, 2018, when they were printing XY with Primal Clash, Ancient Origin, Evolutions, Breakpoint, Breakthrough. It reminded me of that era, but last year it was worse. Because, Sword and Shield, everybody knows it's one of the best blocks in Pokemon history, and the market's already made up its mind. It's just going to keep doing its thing. And I will go ahead and reiterate my Rudy opinion. I think every single Sword and Shield box is going to be pretty much $500 to $1,000 plus. I said that 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, and 2 years ago, and I maintain that. I'm not going to modify anything. I think even people who make fun of me about the Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, the Fusion Strike, and Astral, the bad Pokemon sets from Sword and Shield, which will never get to 100, never get to 150. The market will take care of that. We don't need to do anything. I don't need to try to push. I don't need to go on the open market and buy a bunch of boxes. There's nothing that needs to be done. The market forces are far greater than all of us combined because the market is a sum of literally millions of people around the United States and the world, okay? But Scarlet Violet was interesting because for the first time, most people truly believed that we had tipped over that tipping point into the, I don't know, printed to oblivion, junk wax, just toxic asset Pokemon. And after Scarlet Violet base hit, it was a very intense attitude change towards Pokemon. Like even my internal data with patrons, like the quantity of patrons that would buy when I ran a Sword and Shield Silver Tempest sale, or I ran a Brilliant Star sale, or an Evolution sale, or whatever, a break, whatever. When I ran sales, I could pull the old spreadsheets and I see how many patrons bought. Okay, like not did you buy one box, did you buy a case, did you buy the max 2 cases and get the $95 shipped box price? None of that. Like how many people, not the spend rate, how many people bought? And immediately in Scarlet Violet, I noticed a huge shift. Like it was an immediate 30 to 40% reduction in quantity of patrons who were buying the new block of Pokemon. Which again said, okay, well, I'm not cutting my Pokemon orders with distribution. I want my Pokemon booster boxes. I believe in Pokemon. I may not have a passion for it, but I understand the data, and I understand the market forces, and I understand what Pokemon brings to the table long term. And I don't think it's going to change. But we went through this really hard push to try to destabilize, derail, put the game over sign up. That Pokemon was the easy glory days were done. That's the point, And I look back at that now, and it hasn't even been like 2 years. What's it been, a year? Year and a half? I mean, how long have we been in Scarlet Violet? Have we broken 2 years yet? Let's round it up. Let's say 2 years. Maybe we're going into the third year now. Let's just round it up. And I look back as little as like Scarlet Violet base and Paldea Evolved, Mr. P. And I look at the Mr. P set, and I look at Scarlet Violet base. And now I'm getting all these patron messages. Rudy, hey man, can I get a case of Mr. P, Paldea? I'm like, sure. One, I don't know. I guess I'll sell it to you, but I'm not going to discount the days of the 99 a box or case. I mean, then no. Rudy, you think it's going to get reprinted? Yeah, probably. Oh, so you think I should wait? No, I don't. If they reprint it, so what? The box price goes on TCG Player from $129 to what? $109? $115? Oh God, what a downside risk. It's just, it's a really weird thing. And there was such a strong push to really get that narrative that the Pokemon glory days were over. Sword and Shield was the line in the sand. That was it. And yet, here we are. In Scarlet Violet base is over 100. I think probably 110 shipped now. Okay, with tax and shipping. Maybe it's 115 with tax and shipping. And, and I look at even, and then Paradox Rift, the other one that was supposed to be, then collapse and everything. And I see how stable these are. I'm not making this example to brag or discuss about how much it's moved up. The point of these examples is the strength and stability of a Pokemon product that was labeled as a toxic asset that should be $60, $70. Rudy, I'm not going to buy it till I can get in the 70s, and all this meme drama. And the sheer resistance and stability that these SV sets are showing is incredibly bullish for long term. Incredibly bullish, okay? And I feel like Scarlet Violet reminds me more of the XY era. Like, Sword and Shield did not feel like the XY Pokemon era from the 2015s or 2019s. It doesn't feel like this. Scarlet Violet feels like that older era kind of thing. Sword and Shield didn't. And I don't know what causes the constant fear and it's almost paranoia. I'm going to go paranoia here. We're going to use that word choice. I don't know what causes the constant paranoia that makes people afraid that we're right around the corner for the next crash. Okay? Dude, Rudy, don't get in the S&P 500. Stay out until the market's overpriced. Everything's a bubble. It's the greatest bubble of your generation, your stepmom's generation. Literally, it's the greatest bubble in every generation combined since I painted my own paintings in the background of my videos. It's the greatest bubble ever, everybody. And I feel like human beings have this constant paranoia that the end is always one day ahead. Within 30 days, it's coming up. The next big thing is coming up, and that is going to be the end. And like that pitch and angle and paranoia drives so many people in life to live this life of, I don't know, fear and being afraid and creating that paranoia that I shouldn't buy into the S&P. I shouldn't, buy sealed boxes that I enjoy and I think I want to have long term and are probably going to help me out. I shouldn't buy into, Bitcoin's going to zero. Rudy, don't buy real estate. You heard real estate's the biggest bubble ever since COVID. Any day is the next 2008. Like, you can say the same paranoia and the same fear of collapse can be applied to anything. The reserve list, magic, Bitcoin, housing, rental property, the stock market, the bond market, collectibles. It doesn't matter what it is. There's you can't, live. Our lives are short, folks. Let's put on the philosophical, Rudy. Life is short. If you really let's go real deep in this shit. All right, hold my hand. We're gonna prancercise. Okay. In reality, let's assume the average human being lives to 90 years old, who's not a heavy drinker, not a heavy smoker, doesn't do drugs, and is generally a normal person. Okay. You didn't get the terrible luck where you're getting hosed. You don't have great, perfect luck. Let's just say somewhere in the middle. Okay. Out of those 90 years. In reality, the first 20 of those years, when the age of 0 to 21, we're all young and stupid, right? We're full of hormones. Every dude will pretty much hump a tree. Every girl is involved with her friends and all of her mindset. And every situation that you're under 21, you don't have a clear head in your shoulder, okay? We're all young and dumb. Rudy, I'm just older and a little less dumb, but I'm still pretty stupid. You have to be. You have to be crazy and stupid to be my point in life. So then the last 10, 20 years of life, kind of end of life, when you're kind of slowing down, you're not going to have the energy. Maybe you have major health problems. You're going to have family, maybe kids or grandkids, or maybe you're limited on resources in life and you're just kind of slowing down. So in reality, in 90 years, you chop off the first 20 and the last 20, you're down to 50 years. Okay? That's a long time, folks. 50 usable years for most people. Now, there's always going to be exceptions. Some of us will die young and have terrible tragedies happen that will just make absolutely no sense, and it's just a shitty thing. That's just part of life. And other people that are terrible humans will live to be 120 years old, and you're like, really? And they'll be 110 years old driving around in Lambos in perfect health. And it's like, really? Really? Anybody? And it's one of those situations where the average person should have 40 to 50 years of good, usable health. Now, that sounds like a long time. Now, let's apply the 40, 50 years of usable life, health, and perspective to the S&P 500. You can take any history in any sliding window of 40, 50 years, from literally the Great Depression all the way to today, anytime. I don't care if you're taking the 1920s to the 1970s. I don't care if you're taking the 1950s to the you can slide that scale anywhere. And if you bought in the S&P 500, over that 40-year period, if you literally just constantly added to it, you would have been a flippin' rock star. Doesn't matter. 2008 crash, the 1929 Great Black Monday, Great Depression before the Federal Reserve and all this stuff. all the way to Y2K. Remember the year 2000? The clock's the calendar's going to roll over, and our toaster's going to come to life and attack us. All the way to 2020. Shut down the country. This is it. You can't clean your Black Lotus with bleach and Lysol. We're screwed. This is it. You can crash of the late 80s. Anybody? There's so many things you can do. But if you had literally just stuck with the original theory you had, the S&P 500 would have made you an absolute legend. Multi-millionaire. If you literally saved, I don't even know, $500 a month for 50 years, you would be a multi-millionaire in the S&P 500. Okay? If you were a big boy and did a couple thousand a month for 50 years, forget it. The amount of money you have, you can come pick me up in a private jet. I'll supply the tacos. But now let's take the same principle to Pokemon. Okay? Now, Pokemon, we don't have 50 years of data or 100 years of data like we do with the S&P. But we do have around 25 years of Pokemon data. And in 25 years of data, which again is a good amount of time, 25 years of Pokemon booster box data is incredibly impressive. There's no way. Rudy doesn't have a big Pokemon kind of excitement or hard-on or fetish, or it's not for me. But I love the business of it, okay? But I respect the unbelievable track record, price history data of Pokemon. It is flippin' impressive. There's no way I can discount that, okay? And think about this. If you had been putting $1,000 a month in the S&P 500 for 50 years, you'd be a hero. Right now, if you bought a case of Pokemon every single month for, I don't know, let's say you're a terrible human and you're a Rudy patron. Somehow I suckered you in to going to my Patreon account and giving me $15 a month so I can ride around with Quagmire doing giggities with 15 private jets. My private jets are so many. I stack my private jets. So when the first private jet runs out of gas, I climb up to the second private jet and I keep flying. Like, let's say you buy a Pokemon case and a Magic case for me every month, Like, if you had done that for the last 10 years, holy smokes, the money you would have been made in the collectible world. I don't know if it had been more than the S&P or less than the S&P, but it would have performed well. And the progress and success of those sealed products, starting with the very first patron $79 box in 2016 was Eldritch Moon. Was it Eldritch Moon? Shadows of Innistrad. For $79. Whatever. Eldritch Moon, $79. Let's say you started with that. The first Pokemon case I had offered for $79, I think it was $89 or $79, whatever. I think was it Breakpoint or Breakthrough? No, I think it was Primal Clash or Ancient Origins. I know I did a lot of evolutions with you guys. It didn't matter. Like, if you had stayed the course with all of these instruments and directions and items, overall, if you zoom in, it can feel very terrible. Like, if you zoom into any random 6-month period of the S&P 500, I can be like, Rudy, dude, I bought in the S&P 500 in January of 2020, and then I sold out in the summer of 2020. I lost 40% of my money. Okay, well, yeah, so you can zoom into the S&P 500, and you can take it out of context long term, and you can spin it in a narrative that makes the S&P not look as attractive. Okay, look at what we went through in the bear market. Like the S&P 500 in the stock market, from the all-time high in 2021, I think it was 19 or 20 months, the S&P 500 just pretty much was flat and negative for almost 2 years in a row. So you could have taken any time period, and I had Patreon and messages from you all saying, Rudy, I've been adding to my 401k every month now. I'm on month 17, and not only do I add money to my account every month, but the balance goes down. Like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, I had hundreds of those messages. Now, whether or not people held on or not, I have no idea, but I'll say the same thing then, I'll say now. That is normal, okay? And now everybody's all excited about the stock market again, okay? And it may keep going this way. We could have another 5-10 year bull run. Who knows? Tomorrow morning, I can publish this video, and the stock market could crash and hit circuit breakers, and we could all freak out, and Rudy's back to not buying haircuts. That doesn't matter. Because if we stick with what has worked, and we take how we feel out of things, it is unbelievable what we can accomplish. And now we go back to what I said, 40 to 50 years of usable time, it's a long time. It's a long time. And the earlier you start in that 40, 50 year of usable time window, really the less you need to do. That's why when you see people starting young, if you're watching this YouTube channel, you're like 21 years old, and you can somehow afford to buy a case of Pokemon or a case of Magic every month, hell, just to buy a case of anything. Keep it sealed. And just buy something different every time. Not even from me. Just buy it in general from any store. And then at the same time, if you're somehow able to put $1,000 a month in the S&P and you're 21 and you can do $1,000 a month every month from the age of 21 to your 60s, oh my God. Bro, dude. I mean, I'm not going to hit you with dude darts, but dude, it's just, and if you can combine that and have the financial strength to do multiple of these categories, have some Bitcoin every month, get a primary house, own a piece of real estate for you and your family. And then if you pay that off one day, it's a great feeling. And if depending on your local demographics, maybe you should get a second small property, especially if you're in like Florida or something. Depending where you are, and just accumulate these assets and these items. When you go to a gas station and you go there and you buy in some cigarettes from Philip Morris, I appreciate it and thank you for your service. I am an extremely large shareholder. And you buy roller food, that hot dog that's been rolling longer since Rudy's been in high school, okay? And you eat that roller food, you buy those 2 for $5 energy drinks, which is owned by some Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Monster or whatever. And once again, I own stock in those and I appreciate it. Thanks again. When you're making those choices, you are changing your money out for items that are impulse buying. Those are not assets you're buying. You don't buy an energy drink, you just pee it out. It's not an asset. Drink sparkling water, get off the sugar and crap. Drink regular water. It's these items that you impulse buy at, a home goods store, even Walmart, certain things that you get tricked into buying, or maybe you're on vacation. And you know how it is when you're on vacation. You buy things you normally wouldn't buy. You buy stupid overpriced things that you really are just some mass-produced thing that's probably made in China, shipped over to the U.S., costs 20 cents, and you're paying $9.99. These are not assets. This is just where you're trading money for items of no value. So the key to this stuff is, again, still eat food, enjoy your life, your family, and have memorable things. But when you're deploying money, make sure the items you're buying into can hold, retain, accumulate, or maybe expand. Maybe they're inflationary, or maybe they do just generate value. Even if, obviously cash flow is king, but even if they don't generate cash flow, collectibles, Bitcoin, there's still, make sure you have other items that have the cash flow. That's why it's important to combine them into the basket of these nuts. You need to have the basket, okay, the basket. Okay, that's why there's never a single king asset. There's no such thing as the perfect stock. There's no such thing as the perfect collectible. There's no such thing as the perfect oil painting. There's no such thing as the perfect, I think the perfect crypto is Bitcoin, but that's just me. There's no such thing as the perfect rental property. That there's just all these different things, okay? And let's go back to the time part, okay? So on the time conversation of 40, 50 years of usable time frame, it's a long time. But now, let me just slap you across the balls before I kind of take off with the family here and go eat some waffle fries. And let me just say this to you all. 40, 50 years is nothing in the universe and space-time continuum and Earth and all this stuff. So when we talk about having a lot of time, time is such a weird thing. The more successful, the harder you work, the more busy your schedule, and the older you get. All of these variables speed up your time and reduce how much you feel you have left in life. We all share the same destiny. We're all gonna die. Fucking is what it is. It's shitty. The million, billion, trillion dollar question is the timing of that and how it's gonna happen. Well, I can't get that deep into philosophy because I'm gonna freak out with you guys with like the crazy alien guy, but the grand scheme of life, Earth, universe, even the United States, other countries, the different continents, everything. You go around the world from Europe to the African countries, to Asian, to Russian, to all the middle, you go around the world, okay? The history of humans in these countries that go way past the couple hundred years of the United States. There are thousands of years of history, okay? And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there's just so much stuff we don't know, okay? I'm just not that smart. I like documentaries, but I don't know the details. And in the grand scheme of all that stuff, if you really stop and think about this, okay, think about this. We're talking about timetables on this YouTube channel in the collectibles. We talk about timetables that are just, oh, look, Rudy, I bought Modern Horizons 3 from my local store. It hasn't gone up in price in 30 days. Oh, Rudy, I bought Scarlet Violet base from you because you said stay the course. I bought from you for $99 a box, and guess what? They're on a TCG player for $100 a box. If I sell it, I lose money because of you. That's correct. Those are all facts, okay? I'm not BSing. I don't have a shortcut for you. I can't make you rich. Yeah, if I did, I would not be on YouTube. I'd figure it out already. It's one of these things where that is the way it's supposed to be, okay? All these mega influencers and financial guys who have these programs for $10,000, $5,000, seminars, or a Patreon or something that are huge money that have these programs. Look, I'm sure some of it's some good advice. I'm not sure. But there's not really any shortcut. And looking for shortcuts doesn't really work. In the grand scheme of life and society of everything, I mean, we're talking about Pokemon and Magic boxes, okay, that are like 1 year old, 2 years old. And we're talking about the grand scheme of like the S&P 500 in the last 100 years. And we're comparing prices to things. And we're not even using, we're talking about months or days or weeks. Oh, release date plus 30 days. Like, we're talking timetables that are so small and irrelevant. And simply, it's almost laughable, okay? Because it shows how short-sighted a lot of you watching this channel is. And even myself, it shows how short-sighted Rudy can be. Like, wow, okay. That's great, okay, you know. Well, that item is gone, okay, well. Oh, what is that over there? Wilds of Eldraine collector boxes. That, oh, whoa, those went from 189 to 300 and something for Wilds of Eldraine collectors in a year? Like, what? You know, these time frames we use are so small. Is that right? Does that say fucking Fallout? FF fucking Fallout? Are Fallout collectors $650 a box now? Holy shit! You know, and again, Fallout's been out for like, what, 6 months? Like, this stuff is crazy. Like, we're not talking, like, the problem with many, I don't want to say like younger generation people, but the problem with a lot of humans and meat popsicles and all of us is that we don't have the right scales. We don't have good relationships with time. We don't have a good relationship with patience, and we need to play the game of chess slowly. We need to play the game of chess quietly and move the pieces based on the long game. When you're a professional chess player with a high score and a high rating, there's an early game, a mid game, and a late game kind of thing, okay? Just like any sport. And the opening early game of how you set up usually is a good template for how you're going to move into the mid-late game, okay? Not always. And then, of course, late game, you know, in chess, some of the pieces become very powerful, and other pieces aren't as powerful, okay? You know, if you have the castle, as many kids and my son would play, when you have the castle or rook running around the board, at the beginning of the game, it's not a big deal. But in late game chess, you know, a piece that can move the whole board compared to a piece that can only move a space or two, a pawn, or even the horsey, as I tell my son. You know, the horsey or bishop type. When you have the bishop, you have these little, like the diagonal, like, I don't want to get too much, I feel like I'm rambling this video. You know, the point is, when you have some chess pieces that can move the whole board, okay, versus pieces that can only jump a few spaces, the state of the board in the late game versus early game, it has different power levels. And life is the same way. That's what I'm getting at. And I'm reminding you all that people just don't. We live in this rewired brain thing where we're swiping on these short YouTube videos that are 5, 10, 4, 6, 8 seconds, okay? And we're just swiping on autopilot. And you're just like, what am I doing with my life? And you couldn't even name all the videos you watched in the last hour, okay? Because the brain is on like this autopilot regurgitation and absorption of just this media addiction, okay? And that's the way big tech wants it, because eyeballs and swipes equals monetization and equals billion, trillion dollar companies. That's the world we're in, okay? That's what big tech's doing. And honestly, If I owned Google, I'd probably do the same thing because that's the most profitable thing to do. And if you're running a publicly traded company, the point of the company is to make money and to plan for the future. And that's what they do. Doesn't make it right, but that's what they do. So the point of this video, I want to go back to the beginning of the video. And that is, I was talking to you all about this concept of paranoia where everybody keeps thinking the next end is here. The next Pokemon set, the era, this is it. We saw a heavy push for that online and a heavy narrative of Scarlet Violet is over. Different borders, the pull rates, the art style, the silver color. There's nothing special. It's fucking done. And yet, it hasn't even been a couple years. And all that attitude is already just dissolving into the abyss. And the Pokemon machine and bull market is starting up in Scarlet Violet. And it's incredible how fast and how much things change. And I hope some of you all remember this. And I hope in 2, 3, 4 years from now, we can remember, at least, and see, one of the reasons I hope some people understand, a lot of videos on this channel, the point of it is to timestamp the things I'm saying about the products I'm saying at the prices they're at and log it on the public YouTube and kind of timestamp it. Okay? That's the point of a lot of this stuff because it's incredible to look back. I had some patron messages the other night and someone said, Rudy, I went back the last 4 years and I pulled your Pokemon videos. And there's a Pokemon video and you guys should check it out. And it says you guys will like this. There's a Pokemon video from like a year or two ago. And it's Rudy getting excited because Chilling Reign broke $100 a box. And seriously, YouTube, your Google, Alpha Investment Space, Chilling Reign breaks $100 a box. And I did a video on that, okay? And the amount, and if you look at the comments, well, maybe not now because people like you all are going to pause this video and you're going to look it up on another browser. And some of you all are going to comment now. And, obviously today's comments are going to be very different than previously. And it's so fascinating. And I do this kind of stuff because I learn from it. I go back and I say, I watch my own video and I say, man, that guy's creepy. And I say, okay, look at what I'm talking about. Look what I feel in the moment. Now, what can I learn today? And what can I apply to Scarlet Violet that I missed then? Okay? And what was different? What was the same? How were people feeling? And I try to take all these data points and apply them to where we are or where I think we're going. Okay? And it's very fascinating because you see something like those Pokemon videos from a couple of years ago. And it was wild. All right, so that's enough Pokemon. Let's talk about, let's go back to Magic. And we look at Magic. And obviously we just went through the 2-year modern Magic crash bear market because of the economy, inflation, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro's worst handling of Magic in the history since they've had the game. The overprinting, the Magic 30, literally a perfect storm of every possible negative thing that WotC could do. Wizards did every possible thing wrong during a tough market that they could have possibly done. They leaned into a difficult market and did the opposite of what they should have done with everything. Massive print runs, dumping their own products, reprinting and shaking up the vintage market. Every possible thing you shouldn't do while you're collapsing, they did and accelerated it like a flippin' just giant Rudy penis into your So and we went through that, okay? And now, as I stated, in October, November, in December of 2023, when I was talking to you guys about data point shifting, and we are hitting the bottom of the Magic market. And again, once again, going back to those videos and looking at those comments, if you want fun, go back to videos on Q4 of 2023 on this channel when I talked about Magic markets and standard boxes and boy, stay away from the comment section and the anger there. And when I saw everything going on, and every store was getting rid of everything before it got Amazon, like the clouds and the pieces on the chessboard were lining up where I knew I had to make major moves and deploy major capital for for draft Magic boxes since they were getting extinct, because I knew we were going into the future of 2024, 2025, and I knew the following facts. Number one, Stores liquidated everything because of Amazon dumps in needing capital and raising prices and labor and inflation. Number two, all the closet investors or anybody in my own patrons, and the data showed my own patrons and everybody was backing off, and everybody was reducing or stopping their spending on magic boxes. I knew all. And then, of course, number three, the overall attitude in everyone's opinion about Magic's future was so bleak. I knew there was just like, okay, we have these three main data points that are so negative and bad across the board. It was the most bullish indicator I had ever seen for buying new sealed product. And that's what I did. 10, 15,000 Magic draft boxes later, deploying all this stuff. And again, if I just said this on a video, and that's why I have to show these crazy things in my backgrounds of videos, because honestly, I don't think people watching this channel would believe me. I have to do it. Otherwise, you get the dumbasses on the internet. Oh yeah, Rudy, pumps and dumps with new I don't know what kind of voice. It's like a mixed American voice. I don't know what that voice was. Rudy just sells all the new stuff and buys 4 billion Black Lotuses. And I'm like, you couldn't be further from you couldn't be further away from reality. Like, the amount of collection and vintage buying is very low. The amount of new product accumulation is off the chart record breaking. And that's why I showed you guys those videos, because I didn't think people would believe me if I just sat here and I said, hey, by the way, this is what I'm doing. I don't think most of you would believe me. Because, well, if I was watching a YouTuber and a YouTuber told me that, I wouldn't believe them either. Yeah, fuck, well played, touche. So, that's the summary is, the problem is we all don't have good relationships with time, patience, and we all don't want to accept certain things for where they are. And, it's a good reminder that, things are never really as bad as they seem, but things are never as perfect as they seem. With that pinball always bounces around, okay? But if you really just listen and pay attention, that is one of the most important factors of this channel. People have all kinds of theories of why Rudy has a YouTube channel, why Rudy still does this. I mean, the amount of conspiracy theories and the amount of things and messages and you all and secret little Facebook, MySpace, Reddit, Discord, OnlyFans, and all these posts and discussions of asking, I don't understand, why does Rudy keep doing this if he's already made so many millions? I don't understand what's really going on. Who's funding him? Is it private equity? Is Rudy really Wall Street? Is Hasbro Rudy? Is Rudy like a board of directors? Like, there's so many theories out there. And, the point of this channel is to just continue to discuss and report all these data points and news things with you all, okay? I wouldn't be able to have the time to make the videos, run the Patreon, do this stuff if you guys didn't watch the videos, if the people who hate me didn't post it all over the internet and share it, who didn't bring up my name and help monetize and spread. Remember, every time that we get that, it helps everything grow. There is no negative video out there that you all can keep pushing on me that's really gonna actually not help, because it makes people curious, and human beings are curious creatures. And as long as people use me and my face and name, it constantly brings in more patrons, it brings in more viewers like you all, and it makes more of you out there think for yourselves. And that is imperative. We need people to not just be like, oh, I saw a bad video, Rudy, I'm never buying Pokemon again. I heard it's overprinted, it's artificial scarcity, if there's billions of cards. Remember the billion card Pokemon thing? Anybody? Pokemon printed billions, remember? Okay. I'm going to continue to do this because I enjoy it. And I think it's incredibly important to put this out there. And I hope videos like this help you guys learn something. This is way longer than I expected to talk today. And I hope this helps at least somebody think longer term. Do not focus on short term, the stock market, the Pokemon market, the Magic market, all these little things. Rudy, did you see Modern Horizons went up $3 today? No, it went down $4. Oh God, do we get out? Just let it, just believe in it. Let it be. Let it be. Just let it be. The best thing to do in most situations is nothing at all. Let the market and let nature just take its course. That's it. And let the internet and let the theories run wild and let the natural course of just life and the internet and the machine that is social media, let it come up with its own thing and let the people out there live rent-free in your brain. Here's Rudy's penis.